there's all kinds of interesting devices joining us today. We've got meeting booth, we've got iPhone, we've got all kinds of devices. Anyway, hey Ruben, nice to see you. We've got Luther, we've got Daniel. All right, amazing. So just while everyone's trickling in, this is a marketing event. So given it's a marketing event, you should be taking every opportunity to pitch yourself. So just while we're kind of waiting for people to wander in, I'd love to just go around the room and just hear from you. Daniel from Ethiopia, that's amazing. You guys, especially if you're on camera, just a couple of minutes, like, who are you? Like, some new faces here today. So Ruben, I'm going to start with you because you have great hair. And so just tell us about a bit about who are you and what's your interest in scaling sales?
Yeah, my name is Ruben Rosado. I help people get out of debt as fast as possible. I have my own coaching business now that I'm just starting to get it off the ground. I'm in Ponce, Puerto Rico. I'm a digital nomad, so I travel quite a bit. My plan is to be in Colombia next year and get a digital nomad visa for 2 years. That would be amazing. Anyways, what I'm looking forward to learn from this today is how to scale. In particular, like I have no leads right now, and I feel a certain way about reaching out to individuals. I don't like that idea. I'd rather have other people do that work for me and bring me clients. So that's where I'm at.
Fantastic. I love that. You'll see Alex, my co-host here today. He's the LinkedIn guru. He's gonna smash that. Amazing. He's gonna give you some real good detail on that. Anyone else just want to introduce themselves just while we're waiting? Give it a couple more minutes. The session in the chat. Thank you very much. Luther Diedrichs is in the house. Daniel, I see you've been waiting. You were waiting very patiently. I think you were like an hour early. All the way from Ethiopia. Fantastic. Thanks for the good intros in the chat. Thank you very much. Amazing. Good stuff. All right. Good stuff. I think we should just get cracking. And everyone else can catch it in the replay. We're going to be streaming this live as well. So to everyone on the internet, greetings. And let's just jump straight in. Okay. Good stuff. So just a couple of bits of housekeeping. Oh, there we go. I have this theory that there's a certain number of people that will only arrive after you start. Like, it doesn't matter how long you wait for them. Like, they will only literally arrive after you start. So there we go. Right on track is Amelia. Amazing. So I am John, and joined today by the very handsome Alex of Leadeth. And we're talking today about sales systems for scaling success. Alex and I are both Alex, you want us to explain how we know each other?
Yeah, I think we originally met through our business coach. We share the same business coach, don't we, Richard? So yeah. I think that's where we've kind of bumped into each other.
Yeah, amazing. And I have a lot of respect for what Alex does in terms of the lead generation space. We both share a similar philosophy. And I thought, really good for us to just have this collaboration today. Ooh, meeting booth is back. So you're in the right place if you love helping people create change. Like, if you don't like helping people, this is probably not the right place for you. Business is going to be tough. It's going to be uphill. And we don't want to help you with suffering. We want to help you expand with joy and abundance. You know who you want to work with. If you don't know who you want to work with, it's going to get a little bit tricky. You want to go back to kind of sales first before you think. If you don't know who you want to work with, scaling is not yet the right thing to do yet. As one of my coaches said, it's not about scaling, it's about doing more things. It's about doing more scalable things. So kind of assuming you already know who you're working for and what the system is, then you can scale it up. You've got paying clients, right? That's how you know who you work with, is if you've got people that you like that have given you money. If you don't know who you're looking for, it's going to be tricky. All right, but if you want to keep growing without the wheels falling off, this is exactly the place for you to start putting those systems in place. So Alex, just want to introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself and about what you're doing at Leadeth.
Great. Okay. Well, where do I start? A background of kind of working in a family printing business as a kid, growing up there, doing everything from, artwork to actual print finishing, delivering jobs out to clients, and then accounts, looking after client relationships. So learn every aspect of a business, I guess. Served there for a number of years. And then about 12 years ago, I said, right, I'm going to start my own thing. So I bought a little printer, set it up. It was going to get delivered to my home, set up an eBay shop, and I was selling these little stickers on eBay and kind of scaled up an e-commerce business to then move into Etsy, Amazon. It turned over $500,000 during COVID because everybody wanted health and safety signage and social distancing products. So that was great fun. I get bored of things, like all entrepreneurs really get bored of things. So I have to keep moving quite fast. So about 3 years ago, I set up a web design agency, a digital marketing agency, part of a franchise model, partnership model. Came away from them a year ago, and now kind of retain my clients, look after them. So that's building out websites, mainly using WordPress. And we also get to do a bit of digital marketing, SEO. Clients didn't want to spend much money on SEO. It was a £300-400 a month investment, and they could never see the return on it. It was a long-term investment. So I thought, there's got to be a smarter way of generating leads, not just relying on a website, but actually outreach. And LinkedIn was the place. At the time, I was doing a bit of work with the over here in the UK. We've got the Federation of Small Businesses. It's a bit like a membership for business owners, where they get cheaper insurance and access to lots of benefits. They're also a voice in government for business. And COVID hit, lockdowns. I was unable to go out door knocking at local industrial estates where small businesses were located. I'd pick up the phone, they weren't answering the phone. So I thought, this is a commission only role. I need to generate the revenue here. Otherwise I'm going to get nothing. So I looked at LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a fantastic tool because, for B2B, that is where the audience was sat, and they were responsive. They were accepting connection requests. They were wanting to connect with me. They were wanting to meet over Zoom virtually, happy to do that. And I could sell those, memberships over Zoom quite easily just by sending them to a link, and it was a done deal. A very non-emotional purchase back then. That wasn't, what we're talking about today, more high ticket stuff probably, but it was, membership was £180 for the whole year. So it was an easy sell. So out of that, I ended up managing it for about 15 other people in the same organization, all in different regions around the country. And then it's kind of scaled into now a bit of a community, but it's kind of software, done with you software, where I'm providing software. It's a great white label tool that I get from Canada. And yeah, it's fantastic. It generates leads on autopilot for people, and we can create campaigns with it. So looking forward to sharing a bit more about that today, John.
Oh, fantastic. Amazing. Thanks, Alex. Really, really appreciate that. And I love LinkedIn because it's just, people are who they say they are. You can just, if targeting is the most important thing, you can just go and find the actual person and have a chat to them. My background, I'm an ads guy. I spent the last 20 years, 15 years doing Google ads, Facebook ads, all these sort of things. But I found the biggest challenge people have with growing is not so much getting more traffic or more ads. It's what happens to them afterwards. What does the sales process look like? And that's kind of where I spent, especially after COVID, spent a lot of time and energy kind of looking at that system. How do we capture that? Because what I found, you get back into, the back end of clients' digital systems. It's we want more traffic, we want more, leads and stuff. But it's we want more leads, we want more. And then as soon as you get more leads, if the system to capture that is not in place, that's gonna expand. That's gonna fall apart pretty quickly. And especially, as a one person business, scaling is about essentially the transformation of you being the business to you having the business. It being the separate thing that people can get what they need done without it having to include you. And honestly, this is what most business owners look like. Their marketing systems look like behind the scenes. It's one person in the middle, going, I need to generate leads and send email and catch calendars and CRM and oh shit, I need to post on social media as well. And it's nuts. So the framework that Alex and I both subscribe to is build a bridge. Find out who the people you want to work with, where they want to go, and then put a structure in place. This is what your marketing system ultimately is a way for them to find you, find out what where you fit into the world, how to make a decision to actually work with you, and then get the job done. awareness, consideration, decision, and delivery. So that in terms of building your marketing system, that's essentially, what having a business works. That is what a scalable system looks like, is if you've got those basic pieces in place. Once those basic pieces are in place, any improvement to those pieces is scale, right? Because if it's a working system, any improvement results in an immediate upside. It's a difference between building something from 0 to 1, but increasing the effectiveness of the 1 immediately results in scale. So we'll talk about two, it's kind of 3 components. The 2 main ones, we'll see how we do in terms of time. As you see, you guys are in a LinkedIn event, so you've got to experience that a bit. It's one of the components. But LinkedIn around getting people, strangers, to become aware who you are and chat to you. And then from there, how do they join this process over here? So I'm going to hand over to Alex. He's going to talk about this piece over here. How do we actually get those conversations with those right humans? And then I'll circle back to myself and talk a little bit about what about the other piece of that. So sound good? Does this make sense? Fantastic. You're in the right place. It's fantastic. All right. My cat will probably show up at some point, but hey, all good. All right. So in the meantime, over to Alex.
Great. Thanks,
LinkedIn,
John. Is it possible to do a quick screen share from my side?
Yeah, cool. I'll just give you the power and I'll stop hogging the screen.
Great. So very similar to kind of what John has explained, that bridge. We're looking at the start of this funnel, the awareness stage and the consider stage. So this is kind of the typical journey, the client journey, the customer journey that I would take clients on. We look at the target audience. So we do a bit of work around understanding who their target audience is. What are the outcomes that they want? What are the problems that they want you to solve for them? And when you start to address that, it helps you to then find that audience, and you can set your LinkedIn profile, which is the second stage, with clarity to make sure you're speaking directly to that audience. There's so many times on LinkedIn, people kind of neglect their profile, or it's just a profile that they don't use, and it states about a job that they might have been involved with many years ago. Whereas what you can do now is you can make sure that profile is up to date, and it's talking about, it's calling that audience out. So often the LinkedIn header bio is the best place for doing that. So you'll see some people have some really creative header bios where they're saying, I do this to help this kind of person reach this sort of solution or goal. And when you think about that, obviously that's one of the main things that someone will look at on your LinkedIn profile. So already there's clarity there from the off. The next step is when we start to move into automating some of your LinkedIn outreach. As with any kind of system, it's great to kind of make sure you've got a manual system. And if it works manually and you're finding the prospects manually, then, automate it. And I know I think Ruben was saying earlier about how can you make it feel right and get that tone of the message, because obviously automation can just feel a bit cold and a bit blah, and people will switch off. So that's why we're using a lot of different data points. We're enriching data. We've even done campaigns where we're using scraping B and other things that go out to Google, look for a company website, see what they're about, understand their pain points, and then spit back a nice icebreaker that's going to be super highly targeted and relevant to them. So that's quite exciting. And there's a lot of systems that are kind of leveraging AI these days to do that for you. So that's kind of the LinkedIn outreach component. And then obviously the natural bolt onto that is like what John was speaking about. It's that constant nurture where we're, those kind of 5 or 6 touch points before they kind of decide to, book a call with you. So that is all great stuff. And that's kind of up the top end. And then CRMs is what I kind of put in appointment setting. It's having a decent system to capture those leads and making sure you're there. But in terms of finding those leads, something that people struggle with often. So you could head over to LinkedIn. You can do a basic LinkedIn search. So if we go to LinkedIn, obviously Sales Navigator does it a bit more effectively. So if you're paying for the Sales Navigator tool, you can be really cool. But a basic search like this, give us like Ruben, who's your ideal, who do you want to be in front of in terms of a job title or something like that?
So I'm right now I'm looking at credit repair companies to be an affiliate for my debt coaching program.
Sure. So strategic partnerships with those sorts of guys. So what would their job title be? What if they were on LinkedIn, what would you?
It would probably say credit repair CEO, credit repair owner, something like that.
Credit repair. So I would put it in as a bit of a search string there. Credit repair. I would have a look. for people. I mean, people buy from people, not from companies. It's important to remember that we're connecting with individuals here. And then we can go down and use our location filters to further kind of filter that. So any specific locations that you can work with, or is it just the whole of the US or?
US.
Yeah. Okay. So just from a simple 3 or 4 clicks, straight away we've got some prospects. But if we want to be more relevant and catch the ones that are more likely to come back to us, we tend to go for the just second degree network. It's a bit warmer. You've got a mutual connection already, so there could be some really good introductions to be made here. Obviously, this is on my network, and I'm not in this industry, and I'm not in the US, so the opportunity for me is probably much smaller. But creating a campaign based on these results, to start connecting with these people and building up a bit of an audience there and inviting them to some value add stuff, whether you've got some sort of lead magnets or case studies you can point them to, that's really going to help you. So that's one strategy. Credit repair is probably quite niche, so I'm not sure if there'll be many credit repair groups, but you've also got this group here, so credit repair solutions for repairing damaged credit. So this is just a LinkedIn group. There's 4,934 members in this group, and that could be all your perfect audience just sat there waiting for you to target them. So the beautiful thing about joining LinkedIn groups is that it's not going to take up your 100 a week limitation that LinkedIn specify. You can be connecting with these guys at 100 a day. So it's a much faster way of connecting with potential prospects and target audiences. And it's all about adding value. Everything we do to build that relationship is add value. So everything you say has got to be to them. It's not just salesy, spammy. You've got to genuinely build up relationships here. And it is hard work. It's not easy, but yeah. So the way that we would kind of automate some of this process is obviously I'm not in that space. So I'm not in a group there, but if I was, I'd be able to basically view all the members in the group, and that would come up as a search list similar to this sort of thing back here, where we can see the individuals and then we can connect with them. Now, there's several ways of connecting with people on LinkedIn. This is just a direct message version. If you know their email address already, you can go via email and you can connect with more people that way. But you get this option here to add a note. And one method that I use a plugin for Chrome called Magical. Magical basically, you can super quickly write a message to that person just by filling out blanks and filling out the gaps. This is basically how it works. It would fetch their first name automatically, fetch their company name. Because I'm not actually on their profile, it's not showing it. So I'll just go into one of these guys' profiles here, this Megan Mitchell. So we'll click on her, and then we can go to, she's a credit repair coach. So maybe a bit of a competitor or doing something similar to yourself, maybe. If I was to connect with her, it would be literally connect. Add a personalized note, and then I'd use this Magical plugin with /invite, and straight away it pulls off her name and pulls off the company name. Or it doesn't quite pull off the company name, but if I knew it, I'd type it in, click insert, and manually I could do probably 25 of those a day and not get caught under the LinkedIn radar. But yeah, push those invites out, and it is all about So when we're talking about scaling now, we need to think, wow, I'm going to need a way to kind of scale up what I'm doing the more than just the 20 a day. And that's when we use automation tools. So Leadith is one of these automation tools. That's my tool. And within it, we set up what's called a campaign. So I'll just show you how this works. Just a general campaign. Here we go, sales directors campaign. So we create a campaign that's geared to that specific audience and geared to connect with that specific audience. This particular campaign that I've got here is based off a LinkedIn search, and we can go to open the sequence builder. Now, this looks quite complicated, when people see this, they think, wow, what's going on here? There's a lot to it, but it's actually very simple. Automatically, all the prospects come into the top of this funnel. The water flows down like water. It can never go back up the funnel. It goes down. It's a one-way system. So firstly, we're viewing their profile on autopilot between set times of the day. And that's typically an 8-hour window of automation. People can set that up, specify the time zone. We like their three most recent posts, so this is all happening on autopilot in the background whilst you're busy doing something else. doing the stuff you enjoy in your business. And that's the beauty of it. We're then automating the connection request. So we're able to send a personalized text connection request. So mine says, hi, first name, as a fellow, whatever occupation they are in. So sales director, it might say, I thought you might be interested in my lead generation masterclass, free Tuesday morning session where I share proven strategies to boost their company's sales pipeline with LinkedIn. And that's all automated. So we've got a few placeholders that we can use to further personalize it a little bit more. Now, if we want it to be really hyper-personalized, we can also include a video, embed a video into the message. And I created some previously, and that's where we basically talk over a picture of their LinkedIn profile. So it looks really hyper-personalized, but it's actually the computer's generating all these videos on autopilot for us. So it's a very powerful way at automating what you do. And then on the back of that LinkedIn connection, we've got 1 or 2 follow-up messages, or as many as you like in the sequence, where we're just nudging them. And as soon as they send us a reply, boom, the campaign will just stop there. And then that allows us to just focus on the responses that we're getting as a result of these campaigns. So I've actually got a bit of email marketing built into this campaign. So we're actually checking for a work email address, sending them a follow-up message. You've connected with someone on LinkedIn. Let's take the conversation off LinkedIn and have an omni-channel approach where we can then target them on a different medium. And often email is a great place for that. We can also check for any personal emails, because obviously, they've connected, they've accepted the connection request on LinkedIn. We can then, reach out to them with these other methods. The beauty of this system as well is it's actually plugged into a heck of a lot of data. So we've actually got 3 big data repositories where we pull that data from. This is called our Prospect Finder. And within it, we can then just drill down by specific areas. For example, North America, we could say country, let's just put United States and go with job title. I'm going to put credit in there, just see what comes up. Credit analyst, credit controller, credit officer, credit controller. So we can basically use those filters from LinkedIn, but apply them to this data set. Now, this data set is already connected with quite a number of people. We can specify the size of the company, the turnover of the company, and we can highlight some of these relevant prospects. So these are all linked to LinkedIn profiles. If I click on them, that'll take me straight to their LinkedIn profile page. I'm just going to choose the first 10 there, and I'm going to choose to enrich those profiles. So what I'm doing is using an enrichment credit. All our clients get 250 of these enrichment credits each month, and it basically gives me their work email address, gives me their personal email address, and some phone number data there as well. So I can then drop these guys straight into a LinkedIn outreach campaign, start connecting with them, and just dealing with the responses that I'm getting back. So it's pretty amazing stuff. And this stuff links really nicely into other CRM tools. And so that's kind of what we're doing over at Leadith. We're kind of looking at automating and scaling up that manual process of someone having to sit there and connect and build conversations with people on autopilot. Hope that helps.
Amazing. Super cool. Ruben, I'm sure you probably feel like the same way I feel the first time I saw that software. I was just like, oh my God, this is like the coolest thing ever. Like, this is we've got a philosophy that you get it right once. Because no one wants to get an automated message, right? And I think what people do is they try and automate it first. But you try it manually a couple of times. Once you do it manually, then you just take that, put that in, you can then automate the message that actually worked. And now you're actually just taking essentially human activity and then scaling it up, something that already works. So I think, it's a really cool system. You can kind of simulate pretty human behavior. But I love what Alex is explaining is that you kind of got to get it right.
Yeah.
With humans first. You just do the first few. And I think that actually makes it a bit more or less emotionally draining, knowing that you just need to kind of groove the pattern. As soon as you got the pattern, you can then take a working pattern, pop it in the software, and off you go. Cool. Amazing. Cool. So I'm going to talk a bit about what happens after that, and then I'm going to I'll circle back to, and we'll open up for questions. So you guys want to see what the rest of the journey looks like? Cool. All right. So what I want you guys to do is let's just grab seeing as we're doing this manual and old school, I was talking a bit about CRM, but grab a piece of paper like this and just draw like 3 columns on it. just draw 3 columns on it like this. Let's do this super manual, because I think I love automation. I love CRM is my jam, but let's just get a bit of let's go old school for a bit. Okay, you guys got your 3 columns. Cool. Ruben's busy. So we're gonna piece of paper. Just gonna do basically three columns like that. Okay. And in the first column, I want you to write down, like, let's just do like bullet points, quick brainstorm. Like, what are the stages of your sales process? Like, literally just like get it out of your head. Like, what happens at the difference? Like, how are you connecting to people? What happens next? What happens next? What happens next? What happens next? They give you money. What happens next? Yeah, and I'll give you guys, I don't want you to think about this too much, like 60 seconds. 60 seconds and go. And start. Oh, wow. I don't know if you guys can hear the funky music, but I got like some serious, I'll get a countdown up here. 60 seconds on the clock. What are the stages of the sales process? Just get out of your head. You make contact with someone. What happens next? What happens next? What happens next? And you don't have to write out the whole process, just like bullet points. Contact, chat, initial meeting, discovery. What are the things you need to find out in that discovery session? Maybe it's then a follow-up call to do a strategy or something like that. Is there a proposal? Is there something like that? Are there other people involved? 9, 8, 7, 6, and
just to
cool.
There's a question in there that Dr. Yekemi has put about, does lead adhere to LinkedIn's terms and conditions? Obviously, yeah, very much so. LinkedIn have provided an open API to their system. So you do have to respect that. And we've never had any account banned or lost through the use of the tool. We've seen fuse limits, which are the limitations of automation. And typically you'd get a limitation for a week. They reset weekly. And normally then we can just tone it down a bit. But yeah, very compliant to LinkedIn's T&Cs on that.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Thanks, Alex. Cool. So now do you know what the stages are? Just briefly, we're going to go through like what happens at that stage. Like just briefly, what are the things that are going to happen at that stage of the process? And I can show you kind of, this is what mine looks like, just to give you an idea of what, this is the kind of thing that you'd be looking at. So for conversation, like, warm prospects on LinkedIn, this is what I'm doing, like kind of, making chit chat to them, with them. And then we'll talk just now about what can be automated. But this is the kind of list you want to go for. So if you now, so basically I'm going to give you guys another 60 seconds. So for each one of those stages, just write down, like in your own words, what happens at each one of those stages. So if someone's having a chat, or if they download, whatever, your stage is going to be probably quite different to each one of you guys. And this is why, like, CRM is not like a universal thing. Start with like what are the steps of your process. Ruben, I see you're kind of scratching your head there. Do you want to share, like, what are the stages of your process? What have you got written down?
Yeah, sure. I find a lead. That's the big question mark. They go to my website.
Okay.
They watch a webinar.
Yeah.
At the end of that webinar, a button pops up and they can book a call with me, a breakthrough call. That's it. I close them.
And then you close them.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Fantastic. So that's going to be quite different. Like each of your processes might be quite different. And I think it's always worth, before you open software, just get an idea of what that looks like first. Because out of that, I love to start off with those stages, and then you can start looking at, okay, for each one of those stages, how can we build some automation around that to support that process? So if someone starts connecting with you on LinkedIn and you decide that they are a warm prospect, like it's not just like, cool, can we pull that across? Can we pull their contacts across somewhere into a stage where we can have a look at them? If they download a lead magnet or a webinar or something like that, great. Can we pull that across into the CRM? Can we tag them that this has happened? And what is the next step? Do we then push them into another call? Is it an email system or something like that that we move across? After they've done that, is there then another call after that? Sometimes you have a discovery call. I like to have a different discovery call and a strategy call. To me, a discovery call is like a networking chat that I'd have on LinkedIn. Like, hey, you seem cool. Seems like we're doing similar stuff. Let's have a chat. Sales call is like, I'm going to sell you stuff. And when I say sell you stuff, what I mean is I'm going to understand what the challenges are so we can put a specific strategy. At the end of that, it's going to be very clear, what am I going to do for the money that you're going to give me? What I mean, you see the difference. Now, the reason you have two of those things differently is because sometimes you can have different availability in terms of, like a discovery call for me is 30 minutes, a sales call is 60 minutes, right? And you might want to have different rules for those in terms of how many people could, how people can book that. And then also there's going to be different messages. When someone books a discovery call for me, I might want to send different kind of reminders compared to a strategy call. Okay, so if it's a discovery call, I might want to send out an email ahead of the time saying, hey, this is a bit about me. Here's a video. Here's this. Here's a picture of me and my cat. Okay, if it's a strategy call, I'm going to be asking questions more about like, what have you tried already? What is your software? What software or what pieces of software are you using? Try and get as much information ahead of the call as possible. Okay, so these are just some of the kind of things that you kind of start thinking about that. And then this is the software. Now, when I've looked at this, I mean, I must have done hundreds of these things with different kinds, with different companies. And one of the things I found is that even a little process like this, if you've got your calendar on Calendly, you've got your email on MailChimp, you've got your website on WordPress, you've got your CRM in Pipedrive, it's a lot. Okay. And just keeping all of those things together is a work in and of itself, right? So over time, we've been simplifying that. Go, how do we keep this all in one place? So that's why we created this, discovered it's a white label solution, but we created the Connected Impact software. So this is my CRM. And here you can see new connections, and I use Leadeth as well, by the way. So this is what this would look like if you kind of go 1, 2, 3 and implement all 3 steps. So you can see connections from Leadeth. If I connect them as a warm lead, they show up in my CRM. The conversations have a specific tag where it's like, okay, here's a cool conversation. This is someone I'm actually interacting with. Because if we've done this kind of outreach on LinkedIn, even the most highly beautifully crafted message, not everyone actually responds to you. They're doing other stuff. They've got kids. They've got stuff going on. Opportunities is when it's just a category for me that I can just drag across and say, cool, this is out of this conversation. This is something that's actually going to, this is something I want to follow up on. And I can then potentially add reminders and tasks that are specific to those people. And then I've got other types of automations and things built in. So for example, event RSVPs. We've set this up in such a way that if people RSVP to the LinkedIn event, it's going to pull in, these are all the event RSVPs from today, all in here. And I can go through those and move them across to opportunities, move them across to calls. Now, after today's event, you guys all get an email with a replay to say, hey, I hope you had a great time. Do you want to take the next step? If you offer to book a strategy call, it will then move you across to the strategy call, and you'll get a strategy call email, and it will appear on your calendar. Okay. The nice thing is all of these things all happen in one place. So it's not like you have to have a separate calendar and a separate thing. And this is what I really, so instead of having to go to Calendly, for example, I can go in here and just go and create all the calendars that I want in one place. So you can see I've got multiple different calendars here, and they've all got different rules. They've all got different availability. And in fact, you'll see that some of these people are like my community, and some of my team also have their own calendars. So different, depending what, which calendar they, so what people need to do, different people can be notified. And it's all in one place. I don't have to have like 5 different Calendly accounts for this. It's all in one place. So if I want to have like a recorded webinar or a recorded, event, like an ebook or a recorded webinar, all of that stuff can live inside here as well. So I've got, for example, event funnels. I've got intro to funnels. I've got, this is kind of my, like the whole connected impact system on these courses, and it's all in one place. I don't have to go and like put it in like a Kajabi or something like that. It's all in here. Probably one of my favorite thing to do is that when you start building automations, then you can build your automations in such a way that you can start connecting those pieces together without having to leave, without having to involve Zapier, without having to do all of these crazy things. So if I, for example, want to do like my long-term warming up sequence, this is a multiple. So if someone books a call with me, then there's a sequence that kicks off that says, hey, here's my email. After 21 days, it will check if they are, if it's okay for them to go and market to people, if they haven't unsubscribed, or if they're already in my sales process, it will keep sending those follow-up emails. If I look at, if I want to create rules around, so for example, there's a strategy call. Someone books a strategy call, wait for 30 minutes. It'll check whether it's okay for them to remind me for them to have the strategy call. And then one of my favorite things that I love when people have strategy calls is I can configure messages to the prospect, but also messages to me to say, hey, do you want to, like probably one of my favorite automations is after the strategy call, I send an email to myself to say, did you go and manage the CRM status? You've just had a strategy call. Go back in and make sure you do your paperwork. Like go and make sure that you actually go and take the follow-up actions, and manage that process. So, so when you're looking at building a, kind of a scalable system, the CRM piece, you can have a lot of different pieces that all kind of like, it can get quite messy. But what I found with the software is we're able to build a lot of those different pieces of software into one place so that you can just be like, build it all in one place and job done. I mean, this is one of the follow-up sequences is great. So if there's appointment as a no-show, if they book a strategy call and they don't show up, I can just change the status to no-show. It sends an email saying, hey, do you want to reschedule? Happy days. Now, one of the new things that they've started, which is pretty cool, which is that we can start building AI stuff straight into the workflow. So you guys, you've heard about ChatGPT, that you can use Zapier to push information into ChatGPT. One of the beautiful things about these workflow builders is that you can actually push prompts. You can call ChatGPT right from inside the workflow builder, right? So things like if you want to do, one of the things we're busy working with is like for your strategy call, when you send out the pre-information, the pre-strategy call checklist to be like, what have you tried already? What else is working? We can feed those inputs into a prompt, have it make recommendations and send me an evaluation of the prompts before the call starts. Yeah. So it can actually suggest a sales script that I could use even before I get to the call. Really, really interesting stuff. Things like even creating things like social media schedules, things like that. We're building workflows to remind me to say, hey, this is, week 2. In week 2 of your cycle, you should be talking about the problem of time constraints. Here's a potential prompt that you could use. Here's and I love, one of my favorite things about building automations is instead of pushing out automated message to clients, but actually push it to me to say, hey, this is what you should be doing today. And you can make these things really, really configurable. So I could talk about the system all day, but this is just some of the ways that you can take, your specific stages, what needs to happen at that, and then deciding what can be automated, start building out those workflows so that instead of you having to do these steps on the left, you can start first codifying the process, simplifying the process, getting it over so that you automate it, gets the system to automate as much as possible. And when you do need to bring other people in, it's very easy. You create one user account for your system instead of having to do 15 different user accounts. And in terms of your SOPs, in terms of training people, in terms of building a scalable system, it just makes it that much easier to plug people into a working system. Cool. Amazing. Where are we doing? How are we doing time-wise? I'm still working on this Mac thing. All right, 20 minutes to go. So I can talk quickly about events, or if you guys want to go into, any questions at this stage? What questions at this stage?
Well, I wanted to ask Alex if the Leadith has a done for you kind of module where, the last thing I want to do is have to be a total expert in another thing.
Yeah, so in terms of that, we've basically got two different, we've got the done with you, where you're kind of putting some time in to learn up how to do it, build out the campaigns, and I'm pretty much very much supporting you with that whole process. But yeah, we do have a done for you model as well. But obviously it's a considerable more investment, getting an expert to build it all out for you. But the beauty is once it's been built out, you can then drop down to just a software only plan and save money, going forward. So yeah.
Yeah, I really liked how you had it laid out. I would love to, sort of like get that template and then modify it for whatever credit.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the part of the done with you program is we've got all these templates. We can build a template on a call. Part of the onboarding processes, we'll look at your systems, look at your kind of audience, and look to kind of work with you to build that out.
Right. And then I was going to ask about results. I don't know if that's,
yeah, so I'd love to share how I'm currently logging those kind of results and stuff, if I may, John.
Yeah, of course. Go for it. Go up. Go into Q&A.
I love spreadsheets. Yeah, so monthly ROI. So basically what we're doing, this is all my clients, basically, I get them to complete this results page on a monthly basis so they can make sure there's a clear return on investment from them. So I ask them, what's your current hourly rate? If you're in front of a client, you're doing your best bit of work, pop that figure in there. I've got clients that put in, a couple of £100 in that for their hourly rate. Put in your subscription costs. So what is all the LinkedIn lead gen tools costing you? Things like Sales Navigator, the Leadith subscription. If you put that outgoing cost in there as well, that's a fixed cost, that you've got to see a return on that. And then this is kind of the wins. So if you win a client, and they're going to spend some money with you, maybe on a 12-month basis, on average, what is that client bringing in? What's that lead worth? So you can key that in as well. And then the actual metrics that we're measuring with clients on a monthly basis are the SSI score. So that's LinkedIn's algorithm to make sure we're seeing good progress on the SSI score. We've got impressions and engagement is more to do with the content strategy. So having a content strategy where you're encouraging inbound inquiries as well as the outbound activities that we do. So that's why I like to start measuring those metrics as well. Number of followers and the number of new connections on your LinkedIn profile. And then we've got this beautiful stuff here, which is all the kind of automation stuff, what it's doing for you on autopilot. So 714 automated connection requests every single month. 640 odd LinkedIn messages were automated. This month, I think if I flick back here to the Leadith tool, you can see these are my live stats, which are updated for the last month. And we can see that, in terms of viewed profiles, I've viewed 1,703 profiles have been viewed. And that's a huge figure. And, yeah, there's no issues with that. I've been driving it up in the settings and up, and obviously that's giving me exposure. More people are seeing my profile, which encourages people to then get in touch with you. We could, within the software here, we can track how many new leads. So I classify a new lead as someone who is actually going out their effort to send me a question, asking me for more information about my services. So that for me is a lead, not just someone who's, yeah, I'll come along to a masterclass or whatever. I don't log them. I'm just logging those who are, want to take things further. And then you can also log how many customers you get as a result of all this work. I'm not the best person at logging it and using the system to actually log them and tag them. But just to give you an idea, I've got this spreadsheet where I've inputted all the exact numbers here. So the number of new leads, number of new customers, you get a lead to customer ratio. So even if I didn't bring one customer on board, I've saved myself 35 hours of automation. If that was me doing it.
Just ready to go down?
If I had someone in the Philippines doing it for £10 an hour, it's even a good return on investment, even if it's, I was outsourcing this whole element if someone was doing it manually. But the fact that it's me taking full control over this and it's saving my time, so I'm not having to do all this work, is fantastic. But yep, typically seeing around about a £20 a lead, so if I throw 90 quid in, I'm getting a client that's spending around about £3,500 with me. So for me, LinkedIn lead generation is where it's at. So my next business venture, whatever it is, if it's B2B, I'm going to be putting all my money into LinkedIn all day long over anything else, Google ads, whatever. Yeah, LinkedIn. Hope that helps.
Excellent. Thank you for that explanation.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Saul, welcome. I see you're on the call as well. Good to see you. Are there any burning questions? I know you missed the first part of the presentation. Were there any burning questions you had around scaling your systems that you wanted to have answered in the closing moments?
I think the key thing here is all about systemization, and that was a big mindset thing. You've got to look at how you can kind of systemize this and pretend you're not in the equation going forward. So what are the tasks that need to be done? If they can scale up without you, then brilliant. And that's where automation comes in, because it just allows that to happen.
Yeah,
it's a really good motivator, John, having the funnels, and seeing your conversion rate. How many of these meetings you're getting, seeing the leads come in. I think that really inspires me to keep going, and just send a quick nudge message to someone manually if I've not heard back from them for some time. So yeah, I've only been using your system for, I don't know, probably about 3 or 4 months now, but certainly seeing much more momentum in terms of sales calls and the follow-up processes and stuff. So yeah, it's good.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Alex. I mean, I appreciate, like, when I first saw your system as well, we're kind of like, yes, the two kind of click together like this, because what you're doing in terms of prospecting, taking from zero to somewhere, we're able to intercept that lead and then kind of follow up. And I think, the workflow builders are quite similar, where I kind of felt, once you start getting into that systems thinking, and it's a transition from going, this is something I have to do, to kind of taking that system. And we both experienced that, like, where, you kind of go back and look at a system and be like, oh, cool. And you're seeing every time you're going back, you're looking at it with fresh eyes. You're kind of tweaking it a little bit here, you're tweaking it a little bit here, you're making an extra, you're like, oh, cool. You add an extra email to your follow-up process. You add another email to, you change the wording of a pre-call, and you're starting to get, and each time you do that, you're getting more leverage. Like your system, your systems are getting more powerful. The systems are able to do more without you having to be there, which is really powerful. Yeah, I mean, we're still getting to grips with, my outreach process is still pretty simple compared to yours, but it's still getting there. And I think there's some really cool stuff. I mean, what you're doing with the automated, the video, the kind of dynamic video stuff that's going on in there is really cool as well. The ability to just go and enrich contacts is something that we've used quite a lot as well. So amazing.
Yeah,
good stuff.
That's one of my notes to self in my diary is no show email that you showed us. I've highlighted that. That is going to be something that I'm going to go away with and, make sure I set up, because I do get a couple of no-shows from time to time. So to have an automated email that will just go back to them and say, let's book this in, that's another opportunity. I notice you're a big fan of the $10 million. Is that the real book there? That's just for Mosey's book.
Yeah.
It's not one of the signed copies, is it?
No, it's not one of the signed copies, but it is.
You didn't pay what was it, £10,000 for it?
Oh no, I didn't.
But it makes perfect sense, that video. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so funny. Like when we talk about the levels of scale, I mean, this is a couple of different, where you read this book and it's all about $100 million offers, but you read the book in the beginning and it kind of says, before you read this book, you have to have something that works. Okay. Like your thing has to work. Like if your thing doesn't work yet, you need to figure out that first. Otherwise, this ain't going to help you. Right. And then it's like, okay, you need to look in the mirror and be like, this stuff works. Then you go to this book and it's like, okay, now how do you take this thing that works and package it in such a way that you maximize the profitability? That's like a whole thing. But now once you've practiced, that's a whole piece of work as well. Once you've done that, then there's the thing about building the systems, about making that thing, building the systems around the offer to scale it up. Ruben, there's a video, so I got it in the back. I shared, I can actually share it with you if you want to. I'll share it in the link, but I watched a talk of his that I shared in the mastermind that we're both part of, where he talks about his scaling, about scaling. And one of the says that like different levels of the game, like he at once you've got something that's working, the temptation, there's temptation to try a whole bunch of different things, but that temptation doesn't really go away once you get one thing that's working. Once you get one thing that's working, at one point he had 9 businesses. He was like, oh, I got 9 businesses. And he says his wife, Layla, said to him, like, think about, like, out of all 9 businesses, there's one business that you're working on that actually makes more money and you spend the least time on it. The least time in it. And he was like, whoa, okay. So then took the one business and was like, okay, let's scale that up. What that meant was getting rid of everything else and basically just working on this one thing and doing the stuff that we've said in here. It's like you've got your target market, you have your thing. You have the system that gives that transformation, and every time you can improve that system, it's boring stuff, but it'll make you a lot of money. I love this guy. And I love how it's like, he rocks on stage and like his socks and his Crocs. It's like, this has been my project this week, is getting my shelf going. Meeting links to thing. So Saul, do you want to have a chat with not Saul, Ruben, do you want to have a chat with Alex? Chat more with Alex about getting this going for you?
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested in that amazing automation product.
It's dope. For shizzle. All right, so no pressure, John. Just breathe.
Cool. I've popped a link on the chat, Ruben, so you can schedule a quick catch up and we can go in a deep dive. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, that's awesome. Cool. Just for the folks at the back and the folks on the replay, if you guys do want to schedule some time with either myself or Alex, there's Alex's QR code. You put the link in the chat. That'll do it. That's with me. And it's ultimately, we want you to be able to spend more time doing the things that you love, serving the people that you want to work, that you want to do, serving the people that you want to serve, and let the robots do the rest. All the stuff that you want to do, get outsource it to the robots. Fantastic. Any last observations before we check out here? Cool, amazing. Well, Ruben, thanks for your time. Alex, always great hanging with you.
Cheers, John.
And you guys have an awesome rest of your day.
Thanks
all.
so much,
Bye.
gentlemen. Appreciate it.
All right,
Thank
good
you.
stuff.